Hello and welcome along to English Premier League Weekly with myself, Joe Carter. Alongside me today, I've got Matt, Mus and Roz. On this show, we're going to take a look back through some of this weekend's matches. Matt, our special guest here this week, is here to talk Man United. Roz will give us his expert knowledge on the Fantasy Premier League, and we'll quickly preview tonight's clash between Fulham and Burnley as well. We'll try and squeeze that in for you. As always, we want to know what you think, so get involved and throw your comments into the ring for us to discuss. Follow us on Twitter at EPLWpod to stay up to date. Okay, alongside me today, as I said, three men who need very little introduction: Roz, Mus and Matt. Matt B. We've had a few Matts on the show, so you're officially Matt B. How are we doing, lads? Tell me one thing you're looking forward to talking about on today's episode. Roz.
Hi, I'm Roz, Millwall season ticket holder. Can't wait to get into Man United's fixture pile-up and how that might actually affect the race for the top four.
Interesting. You don't want to talk about Millwall's result on Saturday then. Matt, how about you? One thing you're looking forward to talking about on today's show?
Well, I think the one Roz mentioned there, the fixture pile-up, how that's going to affect the top four places is going to be quite interesting. I think the whole City v Chelsea rivalry that's building up for the Champions League final could be quite interesting. And obviously, Roz's Harry Maguire hairdo.
Brilliant. And
I was going more for the sort of Robbie Fowler 90s sort of blonde.
Oh yeah.
I can see you've gone for the app stand there.
Yeah.
Mus, which Man United defender do you look like, Mus? And what are you looking forward to talking about on today's show?
Put me on the spot there. Evening all. I think I'll go with Fabio Silva. Not Raphael, definitely just Fabio. I am looking forward to talking about Arsenal's victory, pulling out the bag when it mattered.
Did I miss something? Pulling out of the baggies when it mattered. Anyway, one more thing. Be like Andrew and Jack, our two Patreons thus far. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Joe Carter EPLW. Okay. Mus, as you said that you were looking forward to talking about. First up, let's talk Arsenal West Brom from last night. Tell me how you saw it.
Okay, I'm not going to do a Roz and say on TV. It was just like the most typical Arsenal performance. You know, when the pressure's off, the manager gets the selection right, the players actually do the business. It was telling that without the supposed two big attacking talents on the pitch, that Arsenal played better. Saka, nominally out of position, was still the star man, and of course the Croydon, De Bruyne, also kind of alongside Saka as the preeminent talent. But probably the biggest surprise of all was Willian finally scoring after 9 months. You know, better late than never.
Yeah. After 9 months, he's finally born an Arsenal player. Great free kick, wasn't it?
It was lovely free kick. Kind of reversed it. Reversed it over the wall. I think it was on Sam Johnson's side, wasn't it? But just kind of impossible to save. Just a word on West Brom. That's them officially down. So commiserations.
Yeah, Matheus Pereira getting the consolation goal, if you like. Gave them a glimmer of hope when they were 2-0 down, Roz. And on the Willian free kick thing, do you think the fact that Xhaka wasn't on the pitch barking orders, the fact that Aubameyang and Lacazette, the more senior players, or maybe Lacazette was on the pitch at that point, but still, do you think maybe the shackles were off for Willian as much as they were for Arsenal, and that allowed him to have an actual chance at scoring for Arsenal?
Yeah, I mean, also I think that they were in the lead at that point. It was kind of the goal that sort of buried the fixture. And also just the fact that there's no pressure whatsoever on Arsenal season now, in that they've got nothing to play for. It was a hell of a free kick. I mean, when you sort of bought Willian, when Arsenal bought him, I was like, he's great at winning free kicks. He's great at sort of cutting inside. He's usually okay at crossing, and he's got a hell of a free kick on him. They were kind of the only sort of things I really saw you buying him for. 9 months later, he's finally produced one of those things. So great business there.
Yes, indeed. Okay, we'll move on then. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's goal earned Everton a 1-0 win at West Ham earlier on in the day. Slightly shocking result, but we're not going to cover that one right now. Before that one, Man United saw off Aston Villa with a 3-1 win at Villa Park. Matt, I'm presuming you watched this one, being our Man United fan and expert.
Of course, yeah.
Talk us through the
Yeah, it
game.
was the usual.
Tell the story of the game.
It's one of those where you can sort of tell the story of every United away game of the season. Go a goal down, don't play particularly great. Come out second half like we could win the title with that team. It's really just hard to understand what the difference is between coming out at the start of the first half and coming out at the start of the second half, other than being a goal down most of the time. But, the talent's there, the players are there. It's one of those where you expected us to win. It could have been a potential banana skin. So we're glad to get through it, particularly with the fixtures coming up as well. The result later in the day, with West Ham obviously secured our top 4 spot as well now. So one of those, get over the line, get the result. Would have been great to get through with no injuries. Sadly, Harry Maguire went off injured, which hopefully he'll be back for the Europa League final. If not, it will be a massive blow. Contrary to Ross's popular opinion. Eric Bailly's looked pretty dodgy the last couple of games, so maybe Tunzebi will come in for the Leicester game tomorrow night. But just a word on Cavani as well. Proving what a top class player he is, time and time again. And the great news today that he signed his new contract for next year.
Yes,
Result.
I was just going to say that. How good is it that Cavani has signed on for another year? I think 15 goals so far this season, and he doesn't just score any old goal, does he, Ros?
Not at all. I mean, he's probably, in terms of just reading the line, staying on the shoulder, finishing the chances he gets, I would say the best at what he does in the league. Great that he signed on. I think that's 15 goals. He's been injured for a lot of that as well. He's an aging player, hasn't started sort of every game. But just an absolute genius in terms of kind of staying on the shoulder and reading the line. Quality finishes, only needs 3 chances to score 1, which is why I put him ahead of the Bamfords, ahead of the Calvert-Lewins, and players like that.
Yeah. Mus, Cavani, an elder statesman with a point to prove before he came to Man United. You're a big fan of European football, watching the European leagues and stuff, as we can tell by your beautiful Internazionale shirt that you're sporting for us today. Cavani, had a point to prove. He's been around a few leagues, but never the Prem. Has he proved himself? Is he a world-class, top-quality striker now that he's done a year in the Prem?
I think he was a top-class, player before coming to the Prem. I think there's a bit of that English arrogance where we assume, unless he does it here, then he hasn't fully earned his stripes. And also, I saw somewhere, and I'm sure this is true, but I love this older statesman, aging striker narrative. Apparently, he's younger than Jamie Vardy. So again, quite telling about how we view someone who is a bit nominally a bit of has travelled around a bit, but still a few years in him. And an apology, I guess, to Matt and all Man United fans, was I thought of him as another Odion Igalo. I was he'll do all right, a couple of goals in the Europa League, but won't fill up any trees. But he's been fantastic.
He has been fantastic, and that kind of moves me on now. We kind of covered the game essentially, but Matt, what we all really want to know is the opinion of a Man United fan on what's gone on at Man United and around the club the last couple of weeks. Before we get onto that, though, I've just got a comment on the comments section. It's from Jack. He says, "I have a question. Would Matt have come on the show if United weren't having such a good season?" I think Jack's trying to wind you up a bit there, mate.
Absolutely.
No, in all seriousness.
Yes, I'd have been on the show.
In all seriousness, let's talk the Glazers, the Man United Supporters Trust, the protests at the training ground a few weeks ago, in the stadium last week, outside the team hotel. Talk us through, as a Man United fan, how you feel about all of that being broadcast to the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a difficult one because you never condone sort of fans breaking into the stadium, and I think particularly when some of them threw flares or bottles at Jamie Carragher or some of the Sky presenters up in the balcony. That's not on. That's not acceptable. That's going a bit too far. But it shows the strength of feeling within the supporters against the Glazers and what they've done. And not just their ownership of United, but their just blatant disrespect and disregard for football in general as a sport, for the English game. What they were proposing with ESL, would have destroyed the English football pyramid completely. And they're just so out of touch. And it was kind of laughable. And I know Gary Neville's already mentioned this, but the statement from one of the Glazers said that they're going to rebuild the trust with the fans. Well, they never had any trust. Day one, 2005, they were never trusted. Everyone could see what they were up to. Well, the United fans could see what they were up to. I think the rest of the world were enjoying having a laugh at United. You know, saying, look at your owners taking money out of the club, putting you in debt. Poor Man United. But the chicken's going to come home to roost a little bit there, because now it's Man City and PSG and Juventus and Real Madrid, and they're all behaving like complete idiots, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, Man United.
They're businessmen, but sorry.
Man United, as they have done over the years, sort of blazing a trail, if you like, for other clubs, but just in the negative way this time around, in the wrong way. And
yeah,
Mus, it's a trend we've seen, isn't it, amongst European elite clubs, and especially in the Premier League with the likes of Man United, Liverpool and Arsenal, these big brands taken over by American ownership and kind of destroying the club.
Yeah, it's kind of a slow and steady decline, really, that kind of, I guess, only really became even more visible to everyone else outside of the club once Sir Alex Ferguson had retired. And then, a lot of the kind of gaping wounds are far more apparent. I mean, it's worth saying, I think the Glazers came in after Abramovich had already bought in at Chelsea, although, and I think just worth also mentioning that this whole argument that, but they've spent a lot of money. I personally, as Matt might have different views, but I struggle to kind of see it as the Glazers putting in their own money into the club. This is like the most profitable club, constantly breaking, revenue records year on year. That's not their own money that they're putting in there.
Yeah.
The money that they're paying themselves in dividends isn't their own money either. So anyone that tries to kind of counter this anti-Glazer narrative by saying, but they've invested a lot, they haven't. They've just recycled some of the club's own money back into it, and then they continue to keep taking out, as well as loading the debt and the interest onto the club.
Ross, what's your take on this? Because as you've told us on a number of occasions, jokes aside, Millwall are owned by an American, and it's a different story, isn't it, at Millwall? What goes on at Millwall?
There's always been that connection with the owner and the fans, really. And the owner is the fan and comes to games. I'll tell you a really quick story, which was that Neil Harris, who is now a record goal scorer, was, I think, one goal away from breaking the record for Millwall, being Teddy Sheringham's record. And he came to the country, being based in Massachusetts, I think, and sort of came to the game that he was going to break the record. Didn't break the record, didn't score. And then he came to the next game on the Tuesday night, didn't break the record. And then he cancelled a load of meetings because it took Neil Harris about sort of 4 or 5 games to actually break the record. So he sort of cancelled all these meetings in the States and said, no, I need to stay in England because this is a big deal to me. Can you imagine the Glazers doing that? Can you imagine the Glazers even knowing who Man United's top goal scorer is? I mean, it's a totally different story, which is why I'm always sceptical when sort of people throw this American owner thing, because the experience we've had has only been good, but we've also always had a fan on the board, which now all these clubs are kind of talking about as this sort of revolutionary thing. We've always done it, and it's always worked out for us.
It's funny, isn't it? It's like the kind of the soul has been taken out of football, as a lot of people are sort of saying words to that effect, but it's still alive and kicking below the Premier League, isn't it? And as you go down the pyramid, is it something that we can ever hope to have back, Matt, in the Premier League? Is it likely to come back?
I think we can. If Premier League and UEFA and FIFA do something about the club ownership models and put restrictions on what club owners can not only put into the clubs but take out of the clubs. Try and make it a more level playing field in terms of financial fair play. That's what I said there, but we've got to put it in there. But more importantly, Glazers have taken over £1 billion out of Man United in 15 years. £1 billion out of the club. And as Mus says, yes, United have still been able to spend money, but it's the way they've gone about spending that money as well, which is just laughable. Rather than appoint someone and pay good money for a proper director of football, the Glazers have had their little yes man, the little puppet Ed Woodward, sat there paying £30 million for Fellaini on transfer deadline hour, and God knows what else, and 60 million for Di Maria.
80 million for Harry Maguire.
80 million for Harry Maguire, exactly. Would we have paid that much for him with a proper director of football? I mean, there's always an element that United transfer fees always get inflated. Don't get me wrong. I always take some of the transfer fees with a pinch of salt. When United are involved, the price goes up, particularly for English players and rival clubs. But the way we've gone about the business, because, as I say, the Glazers are just so out of touch with the club, with football, that they just don't seem to have a clue how to run a football club. They're great at running a business. Hence the reason they've been able to pay themselves £1 billion, and why Man United's revenues keep growing. To be fair, on the commercial side, we're smashing it. But
they've done all right with their other sports enterprises, though, haven't they?
Yeah, but they've done well in a franchise environment in the American football. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's a franchise. They could get disenchanted with the fans and say, right, we're moving from Tampa Bay to Oregon, and no one bats an eyelid.
Why Oregon?
Because it's far away from the furthest place I can think of.
Roz, what did you want to say, Roz?
I was just going to say, in terms of financially doing well, fair play until recently, where Man United actually dropped to fourth on the kind of the worth list of football clubs. So Bayern Munich overtook them. I don't remember a time when they weren't at least in the top three. I think what they're now realising is that actually success on the pitch does count for the newer generation of fans. Some cynics might call them glory hunters. I don't know, but like the fact that now the young generation are turning to Man City and buying Man City shirts, they're buying Spurs shirts until recently. But the fact that actually success on the pitch and trophies does attract the commercial side. I think for the first time, certainly in my memory, Man United have dropped out of that top three behind Barcelona and Real Madrid, but now behind Bayern Munich, and it's it's starting to show, I think.
Yeah. Mus.
Yeah, just a couple of quick things on that. I don't know if you guys saw that there was a £200 million sponsorship deal over 10 years for Manchester United's training kit, which fell through as a result of the fan protests. These are the kind of things that, if there's a crunch on the commercials, that will start making the owners think twice about continuing to disenfranchise the owners, the fans so much. And just to contrast, the Glazers' approach and building on what Roz was saying, the owner of Perth Glory, Tony Sage, in the A-League, he apparently is I don't know if you guys heard about this as well, but a really dedicated owner, attends every game. He tried to attend one of his team's games at the HBF Park Arena, and they told him he couldn't attend because of COVID rules. So he signed up to attend as a ball boy. So he couldn't face missing a game for the club that he owns.
That's what I want to see. Joel and Avram as ball boys at Old Trafford.
Can you see it? Can you really see it? Can you see the likes of Stan Kroenke, Roman Abramovich as a ball boy?
Why is it round?
Hang on, you actually kick the ball with your foot? That's not football.
Well, I'm on the A-League. In my student days, when I couldn't sleep, if it was like sort of 2-3 in the morning, and I really couldn't sleep, my tactic was always to stream an A-League game. In particular, Emil Heskey playing for the Newcastle Jets. Out like a light, straight away.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, look.
And I think, sorry, Joe, just to finish off on the Glazers thing, I think one of two things is going to happen. It's going to go in one of two directions. They're either going to sell the club. They said they want $4 billion, it's $3 billion, which is what the club's worth, plus $1 billion to clear the debts and give themselves a bit of extra cash in their pocket. Or they actually show some commitment to some of the words they've put out recently. Proof will be in the pudding. They invest in the stadium. It badly needs refurbishment. There's only so long Old Trafford can live on being a magical stadium because of the history of what it is. There's only so long the roof can pour with rain and the seats can be tapped, the paint can be falling off and it's rusting. They've got to do that. They've got to show they're going to back Ole in the transfer market in the summer, and they've got to appoint a director of football, and they've got to get engaged with the supporters trust. It's four things. If they don't do those, they may as well sell and walk away, because the protests will continue And as Mercy alluded to, they've already lost the £200 million sponsorship deal. That will be just the beginning. It will start to affect things on the pitch. Results will suffer. Revenues will decline because they won't get in the Champions League, etc., etc. Chain reaction might take 5-10 years, but eventually they'll be forced out.
Yeah.
I think the stadium's needed refurbishing since a load of Millwall fans went to a FA Cup semi-final, came there in 2004.
Yeah, probably. It was probably fine before that as well.
Yeah. Well, look, Matt, I know just because of your camera angle, the viewers can't quite see it, but if you look over Matt's left shoulder, there is a darts board, and you can't see it right now out of shot, but there's a picture of the Glazers on that darts board there, and he just lobs those darts.
I couldn't see it below the chip on his shoulder.
Brilliant. Okay, what a great point to move on. Wolves showed us all up with a 2-1 win over Brighton at Molineux yesterday. Bit of controversy at the final whistle, wasn't there, Mus?
Yeah, I love how you've come to me as as an FPL owner of Neil Mopai, who's put up with him.
It's your own fault.
thick and thin.
Why are you putting Neil Mopay in your fantasy team?
I don't know.
Splashed all the money
I
on
regret
Salah and Mane, didn't you?
Yeah, that's true. And Harry Kane. And yeah, seeing him behaving so idiotically, like the game's gone, a red card has already meant that the result has got away from them in Lewis Dunk, who put them 1-0 ahead, gives away a silly foul, pulling back Fabio Silva, who was through on goal. They lose the game in the final minute. He just needs to contain himself a bit more, right? Now he's like, his season's practically over. He's back on the final day. Yeah, it was ridiculous, and it reminded me a bit of PSG. I'm not saying it's just because he's French, but that kind of indiscipline. When the game's gone and it's gone against you and decisions have gone against you, and then you just lose your head. And PSG did it again, by the way, against was it against Rennes?
Ren.
Yeah.
Good shout,
That's
Matt.
11 red cards this season, by the way, for PSG.
11 red cards this season. Wow. They're bringing out a new shirt, aren't they? I don't know if I prefer it over what you're wearing, Mus. I'll never tire of that Inter Milan shirt. Okay, on to Saturday's games now. Liverpool look to be back in form with their 2-0 win over Southampton, don't they, Ros?
They do. Really good goals, actually. So the first one was a lovely cross from Salah to put Mane in. And then the last one, I don't know if you guys saw it, the Thiago goal for the 2-0.
I was very happy about that goal, personally, because I put him in my fantasy team.
I think Thiago's, I know it worked out for you, but almost a worse shout than Mopay in a way, because he hasn't really been getting the point.
He's been rubbish.
First goal.
Yeah.
But if you want to just look at a class player and just the talent's there, and he's clearly world class, how little backlift there was when he took that shot. It was crazy. It was like FIFA. You know how FIFA sometimes sort of looks a bit like footballers don't move like that anymore time. It just looks like it's on sort of 500 miles per hour. Thiago was just dancing through, and then no backlift, just boom, bottom corner. Alisson had a really good game. He had one mistake, which was passing out again, which I want to get you. I mean, got two Arsenal fans here, and in terms of passing out the back, going into leading to mistakes, I'm starting to wonder why teams insist on doing it in situations like that. But apart from that, Alisson made a number of very good saves, probably worth his clean sheet. And yeah, Liverpool back on winning form again.
Can they finish in the top four, Ros?
They can. I saw Thiago saying we're hoping for a minor miracle. It's not really a minor miracle. They need to hope that Leicester drop points, which at the moment is looking pretty likely they're doing their annual bottle job. They need less of a miracle than, say, a Spurs. But yeah,
we'll get on to Spurs'.
They'll get Europa.
We'll get on to Spurs' much-need miracle a bit later in the show. Chelsea won the Champions League final rehearsal against City, didn't they, Matt? What was the highlight of that game for you?
For me, it was seeing Guardiola go bananas over whereas Panenka. I mean, it was just comedy brilliance. And then when they didn't get the penalty for the foul on Sterling in the second half, just seeing Guardiola get wound up like that, just makes me all warm and fuzzy inside, quite frankly. So, but I think he's a bit of a cheat, really, because I didn't think the one in the first half where they got the penalty. I didn't think that was a penalty in a million years. I think Jesus tripped and kind of fell into Gilmour. I know Gilmour was there, and Jesus could still have got a shot away. But it looked a bit questionable to me. But then the one on Sterling, that was a blatant foul. As much as I dislike Man City, that is such a blatant penalty. How VAR has missed that, I do not know, to be quite honest. But they've missed worse throughout the season, so it's no surprise anymore. Can we read a lot into that game in terms of the Champions League final? No, not at all. I think, City made 9 changes. Admittedly, they still had a lineup that was worth $500 million, even with 9 changes from the Champions League team. But that's what they're playing with. But the key thing that stood out for me, I think, was that it's no Fernandinho, no party. He was out of the team, and defensively, even Ruben Dias looked awful. He was pulled all over the place by Chelsea. Bad passes, missed tackles, missed crosses. So it just goes to show the importance of Fernandinho to that Man City team. And if they don't replace him, because Rodri, for me, I don't think he's an equally good replacement. He's
Rodri's
a different type of player. I think
Rodri's great, isn't he, Roz? Rodri's top dollar.
It's class.
He's
Certainly
a good player.
better than Fred and McTominay put together, mate.
No, he's a good player. I think just what Fernandinho does for Man City compared to what Rodri does is very different.
But, everything that Fernandinho did in the
does
second
is
leg
vital.
for City against PSG, Rodri did it in the first leg, and he did it away from home.
Yeah, but they needed something different in that first leg. Particularly that second half, they were dominating the ball. Whereas what Fernandinho gives you is that energy. Go on, Ross.
No, as an Arsenal fan, that you always need hope, don't you? What we're listening to right now as a Man United fan, just praying that they can make those 6 50+ million signings they need to kind of get on the level. And City aren't actually that good, and they don't have all these young world-class players that will dominate the league for the next 5 years.
Imagine what it would be. It's like when you start a game of Football Manager, Championship Manager to a certain age group, and somehow you mod it and cheat and make sure you've got like loads of money. That's basically what City have got, haven't they? Endless pot of money. Anyway, moving on. Actually, before we move on, I want to ask you all, because, Matt posed this question rhetorically, I believe. Can we read into that game, Chelsea and Man City, in terms of the Champions League final? Matt believes that we can't read into it. Roz and Mus, you first. You're a European man. Let's talk about the Champions League final. Chelsea or City?
To be honest, I think we could read into it in as far as the fact that Tommy Tuchel seems to have Guardiola's number, and that's 2 out of 2, and he's going for the trilogy. I think they can do it. I think they can do it.
That sounded like you were convincing yourself as you were saying it. You were like,
I'm still getting over that late Chelsea winning goal. I was more irritated than Guardiola because I was on for 4 correct score or result predictions back to back, and then he popped up and ruined it all for me. So,
yeah, and if you want to find out the full extent of our predictions from Saturday morning's show, then join us next Saturday morning here on EPL Weekly. Okay, Roz, City, Chelsea.
Yeah, actually probably know by now. I've got full partisan, just proper admiration for Thomas Tuchel and the job he's done. If not for the fact that I was probably one of Lampard's worst critics, and all those people that were outraged, as I said on the last show, all the Chelsea fans that were outraged he sacked Frank Lampard, they've all gone really quiet, haven't they? 2 cup finals. But no, I 100% believe they can do it, and that's not me trying to talk myself into it. I think 2 on the spin against Guardiola. You can tell what you like about sort of the changing sides. I want to point to the hard work that Chelsea do behind the ball. Actually just really irritates the way that City play. And as good as City were in both legs against PSG, unplayable, PSG are a side that look for the counter and go for sort of niggling challenges rather than just the sort of lines and trying. Really tough to break through. Main man Mason Mount in the final, and I'm going to go for a Chelsea win.
Oh, interesting. Maybe we could do like a watch along together or something for the final. Okay, on to Crystal Palace. They looked good, didn't they? Beating Sheffield United with a goal at each end of the game. And your former neighbour, Mus, with an impressive performance. Do you want to talk
That's
us
right.
through Eberechi Eze's goal, and not just that, but Palace's performance as a whole?
Yes, I mean, first thing, Sheffield United weren't up to much, but let's take nothing away from Crystal Palace. We started the game really well and have surprisingly played at a decent level despite having secured their survival in the league for quite some time now, informally, albeit not officially. Eze was like the shining light. Yeah, I'm not sure what to read into like Zaha's constant bad mood. Like he's just constantly
I mean,
angry.
I can give you a theory. He doesn't want to play for Crystal Palace anymore.
He's been like that for 7 years. I've been saying it the whole time. The child.
Yeah, I just wonder what impact that's having on Eze because he's creating a lot around him, but I feel like sometimes he kind of gets to the final third and kind of feels the burden of having to go through Zaha. And actually, if you look at Zaha's reaction to Eze's goal, the second goal that Palace scored, let's just say he's not overcome with joy. I think he kind of just wanted to pass. I don't think he really cares they went in. But anyway, both goals were quite scruffy. But the run for the second goal that's like his trademark. That mazy run where he just kind of glides across 3/4 of the pitch.
Is he the South London Messi? Is that what they're calling him?
We can start it here, Joe. We can start it here today.
Let's start it right now. No one is ever allowed to say Eberechi Eze on this show ever again. It has to be the South London Messi, and it may haunt us for the rest of our lives. But it'd be fun.
Probably
Okay.
on him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
So
He'll be a more rounded player than Zaha. I'm not just saying that 'cause he's a former Millwall Academy product. No, he's a better rounded player than Zaha, and also in post-match interviews, he's the most humble guy on earth, like really down to earth. Zaha for a while has thought that he's Ronaldo in this league. The ball doesn't get past to him, he throws his arms down, he thinks he's that good. He's good.
is
He's fine.
Eberechi Eze the kind of player that now allows Crystal Palace to let Zaha go without there being too much of a reaction? Can he step into Zaha's
I think
shoes?
so. Yeah, I think so. I agree with Mez. I don't think Zaha's set the league alight particularly. I don't think he's anything special. He's a good player. On his day, he can be unplayable, but how many days does he have a season where he's like that? 3, 4, maybe 5 if he's lucky.
Yeah.
Maybe his move to United was a bit early and maybe been a bit harsh on him, a bit early in his career, but he was rubbish for us. He didn't really do anything. He didn't get a lot of opportunities, and then say maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, but didn't really show anything there. So, I think he's a good dribbler. He can take people on, he's got a bit of pace, but he goes down way too easily, expects things to happen rather than makes them happen. And yeah, I think you're right. Eze's showing enough quality to say, I'm here. You let Zaha go, reinvest that money, let Arsenal suffer with Zaha for a few years.
That's just bringing me on to my next question.
It.
Bringing me on to my next question, Matt. Where does Zaha go? It's not like he's playing himself into a big money move, is it, Mus?
No, not really. And I can't really see him being able to step into any of the top 6 clubs or any of them kind of going for him. He's not really at the age or the profile of player that Leicester or Spurs would be interested in, because he has no resale value, and he's not an improvement on any of United, City, Chelsea, Liverpool squads. So it's kind of like he's in a bind himself. Like he probably wants to leave, but doesn't have an obvious suitor unless he wants to go and try his luck in, I don't know, the French league, German league. Maybe he can take over from Ashley Young or Victor Moses at the Italian champions.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, actually, isn't it? Because a vested interest you've got there as well, or a t-shirted interest.
You are on fire today, Joe.
He could replace the...
Jokes are getting tired now.
It looks like... All right, I'm not going to wheel out any more puns about your shirt. But it would seem Ashley Young is on his way out at Internazionale, Right, Mus? Did you hear about the offer that potentially is coming from Watford as they go back into the Premier League?
Yeah, I guess it would make sense, and on some level, a bit of experience going back to his kind of the club of his youth days. And he's done his fair stint. Is it 2 years now at Inter Milan? Comes back with a winners' medal. Man United legend, of course. Yeah, and obviously, I think from an Inter perspective, they probably do need to start kind of moving away from the recruitment model of aging Premier League footballer and investing in more youth.
And young, kind of a bit hot-headed Premier League footballer. As our resident Serie A expert, does Wilf Zaha have what it takes to help Inter retain the title next season? I think that says it all, doesn't it, lads?
Yeah. I'm trying to think, because they've got like Perisic, for example, who's like another kind of aging, skillful, quick winger. They've got Alexis Sanchez, who they're probably not going to sign on a permanent. I mean, I think he'll do well in Italy. Like the defenders are considerably slower. It's more of a it's a slower game, more tactical, and so on. But
Okay.
Wilf Zaha is a winger, an attacking winger that found that to be too much responsibility, so Roy Hodgson has put him up front. And sorry, now we're saying that he could play in I'm assuming back five as a wing back, replacing Victor Moses or Ashley Young. Has anyone in their life seen Zaha drop back? I said he was a child earlier. I'll go further. He's a spoilt child. He's like one of those little bratty kids that literally every manager goes, right, you're the talent. Don't worry about defending. You can just stay up there. Like,
Is he a victim of that? Is he a victim of that throughout his career, being given that title of, you're the talent, go out there.
If you ask Bill Zaha, he's always the victim. So yeah, I mean, in his opinion.
Yeah. You do. I mean, it's hard not to feel sorry for a Premier League footballer, isn't it? It really is. But no,
absolutely.
I wish all the best for him.
I'll
Anyway.
just give a shout out as well. Yeah. So I'm just going to give a shout out as well because I must mention Ashley Young. I mean, what a career he's had. To be fair, I know Martin O'Neill made him out to be the next Lionel Messi when he was at Aston Villa, but he was never the best player. He's always a very good player, but he always gave 110%. And I know a lot of Man United fans were critical of him, particularly in his later stages of his United career, because he was playing at left back and he was getting caught out of position a lot, giving away goals. But the fact he played right back, left back, wherever he was asked to, and always gave everything on the pitch, he just deserves a lot of credit. And I hope if he does come to Watford, that he does quite well in the Premier League. I'd like to see that for him. I think he deserves that.
He'd be welcomed back, wouldn't he, to the Premier League with open arms? Matt, would you say you know a lot about Ashley Young? Do you know a bit about him?
A little bit, but not a lot about him, to be honest.
Okay.
But,
Who?
I think if anyone welcomes him with open arms, he might fall over them and get a penalty. But
I hear on weekdays, obviously he's sort of busy weekday mornings and the weekends, but I hear in the evenings he's actually a Tom Daly impersonator. Well class diver, mate.
He was a quality diver. But a good player.
yeah. So two things I know about Ashley Young. I know that the avian population of the UK will be happy to see him back because birds did quite enjoy taking a dump from great heights. I don't know if you've seen the video, but very gruesome. And then the second thing, his other best friend is Dele Alli. They've constantly had their run-ins in the past.
So young going to Watford scuppers their chances of getting Dele Alli. Then that's a shame.
Or increases the chances of seeing.
Is that in his career? Watford could be all he's hoping for.
Yeah. Mus, going to put you on the spot. I've got a little quiz question for everyone about Ashley Young. What shirt number does he wear at Inter?
I'm going to say, it's like 17 or 19. I'll go 19.
It's Italian, so it's probably like 97 or something.
Yeah, it's 112. No, not really. It's 15. Number 15. Matt, who did he play more games for, Aston Villa or Man United?
Probably Man United.
Yeah, how many?
210.
Yeah, just 192 for United, 157 for Villa. And Roz, here's your question about Ashley Young. I love this impromptu Ashley Young quiz we're having. Where did it come from? I got up his Wikipedia page and just thought, oh, I'm going to put you guys on the spot. You seem to know so much about Ashley Young. Let's feel the fibre of your fabric. Roz, that's giving you time to get the Wikipedia page up yourself. I can see you, you're sort of, you've got your typing shoulders going. How many games did he play for England?
Oh, that's interesting. Let's go for 32.
39. And how many goals? Anyone want to guess? Show me on a hand. It's less than 10, so...
For England.
7. Come on, guys.
No.
Behave. Be
Really?
nice.
You didn't see my other hand, Joe. Well, that marks the end of that segment, Forever Young.
Oh, wow.
How many more
Amazing.
Premier League winners medals has Ashley Young got versus Steven Gerrard?
Oh, ouch. It's getting a bit catty now. It's getting a little bit catty.
Probably done.
But he does have... How many Premier League medals does he have? Go on. How many Premier League winners medals does he have?
3 or
No,
4.
hold on.
Go.
1.
I need a quick answer. Come on.
1.
4.
Roz is correct.
Has he got
1.
No way.
He was part of that terrible squad that Alex Ferguson left Man United with. There's the whole thing was sort of like Moyes, he wasn't up to it. Actually, look at the squad that they managed to win the 2013, I think, Premier League
13.
title. It's not a good squad. It's really not a good squad at all.
No. Look, guys, we have tangented quite severely. I'm going to pull it back now to what we do here and review the English Premier League on a weekly basis. So the last game we're going to look at, we've saved the best till last here, Roz. Leeds looked a class above Spurs, didn't they, in the early kickoff on Saturday. Bielsa's tactical superiority over the wet behind the ears Ryan Mason really showed through, didn't it, Roz?
I like that you've turned to me to compliment Leeds and not Tottenham when you've got 2 people that could do that so much better. Yeah, it was an interesting game. I think that everyone will be talking about that offside goal, I should say. Matt mentioned VAR earlier. For me, I'm fully behind VAR. However, I think the actual rules of the game need actually looking at and what it's actually done. The majority of the time, VAR does actually get it right. There's that hurricane chance where to the naked eye he looked level. When they zoomed in a bit, he looked level. When they got lines out, he looked level. And then they said, oh, no, he's definitely offside. Apart from the fact that it was a glorious goal. Really nice pass from Dele Alli, who's now doing a really nice Ruud Gullit impression with his dreadlocks. Actually, it's really good on him. But apart from anything else, no one actually knows what the offside rule is now. Is it when it actually leaves the foot, daylight between the foot? They've already said they don't have good enough cameras to actually say when it's a goal and when it's not. So, quite frankly, I think that goal should have stood, personally. But yeah, no, Leeds were good. Tottenham were dreadful defensively. There was like a defensive shocker for every single goal for me. Laziness, bad positioning.
Roz, coming back to
got a great assist.
Coming back to kind of the way I framed it, can you admit to us right here, right now on EPLW, Bielsa's tactics were better than Ryan Mason's?
Ryan Mason's only just about had more Premier League games as a manager than I have. So if we're really digging that deep, then yes, well done, Marcelo Bielsa, the third best manager in the world, according to FIFA. Sorry, by the way, Daniel Farker has got more points now than Bielsa's Leeds. Do you reckon he's going to be in the chat for FIFA Manager of the Year? Can you see that happening? Because he's got more points than Leeds did, and they've also.
But he's not
Bielsa.
Bielsa.
Well done, Bielsa for beating an 18-year-old Ryan Mason or whatever he is.
18. Mus, we've been talking the last few weeks now and looking at Leeds results quite closely because we know it's a good way to wind up Roz. And they've more recently been conceding less goals, and Saturday's result does show that. They came into the Premier League all guns blazing, and now they appear to be focusing more on the defensive side of stuff. And Roz, stop looking at me like that. Budgets aside, manager aside, all that malarkey.
100 million.
They seem to be solidifying, and can they make a push for sort of top 6, top 7 next season, especially with the UEFA Conference League coming in, the third tier of European competition?
Yeah, they could do, but it's quite difficult to imagine any of the top 6 being kind of dethroned, really, and there's still that uncertainty about Bielsa's
6 thrones.
contract,
Like,
isn't
it's
it?
just...
like Arsenal, do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Arsenal looks nailed on, and so do Spurs and Everton.
Hey,
Sorry.
all those guys are upwardly mobile. There's no more dropping. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, there's a lot that is riding on it. But I don't think that. Yeah, they'll do well to break into the top 8. And yes, you're right. I think it's impressive that without some of their key players like Calvin Phillips, Liam Cooper, they've been able to bring in players like Llorente and Strauch and Robin Koch, and still be solid defensively. So yeah.
Right. Guys, we're all adults, right? When Mus said Robin Koch, why are we all giggling like school children?
No, I'm okay. I was going beyond that and just going, yeah, it just goes to show if you bring in Rodrigo from Valencia, if you bring in Robin Koch and Llorente, if you bring in all these players, it just goes to show that you might not get relegated, and how well have they done?
Yeah.
It's been more than Manchester United in the summer transfer window.
Yeah. And have a more experienced manager.
Yeah.
But yeah, aren't Leeds doing well?
Brilliant.
What's happened to you, Matt? You've been indoctrinated.
No, I've always been on the anti-Bielsa brain, to be fair.
I've been recruiting Mus. I'm a bit like a Jehovah's Witness. So I just go to people's doorsteps. Just go, yeah. Have you found Bielsa yet? Do you hate him yet? Let me just...
Have you found Bielsa? Yeah. You're giving them little leaflets with a picture of Bielsa on it.
The most hilarious thing is
I found Bielsa.
I have so much that I reckon you boys could probably imagine me doing that.
I could see it. I could absolutely see it. Guys, that's the reviewing done. Now, there is a football match taking place in the Premier League this evening in about 20 minutes. Let's give you some team news, shall we? For Fulham against Burnley from Craven Cottage at 8 o'clock. The Fulham lineup looks like this. In goal, Areola. Across the back, Tete, Anderson, Tosin and Robinson. 2 holding midfielders, Zambo and Gisa and Lamina. A three-pronged attacking midfielder situation, if you like. Cavallero, De Cordova-Reid and Lookman. Behind, Alexander Mitrovic, he's back. And Burnley line up in a 4-4-2. Pope in goal, Loughton, Tarkovsky, me and Taylor across the back. Brownhill, Westwood, Cork and McNeil across the midfield. And up front, Matej Vidra and everyone's favourite, Chris Wood. Sorry, I was just laughing at myself there. I nearly called Westwood Vestwood for some reason.
Yeah.
Westwood.
I think they're probably the most 2 predictable lineups in the Premier League, right? Apart from like Loftus-Cheek. I think I probably could have guessed every single one of those players.
Yeah, Loftus-Cheek's on the bench, mate. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a dead rubber, this game, really. Burnley on the beach, but they are Burnley in 17th on 36, Fulham in 18th on 27. Fulham they can keep it alive. They can keep the dream of staying up alive. But the way Chris Wood is playing, Mus.
Yeah. I mean, when the dream is in air quotes, it's almost dead, to be honest. They can keep that dream alive. Also, congratulations on your call up to the Burnley squad. You said you were playing next to Loughton and Tarkovsky at the back.
Me? Oh, brilliant. Very good. Yeah, that's why we got to wrap this up quite quickly.
You got to leave. You got to...
I've got to get over to the cottage.
Like.
That's how confident they are of winning. They just left him behind.
Yes. Okay. Let's have a little prediction from you then. I'll tell you our predictions that we made on Saturday, Matt, and you can. How about you give us yours first, and then I'll tell you ours. What's your prediction?
Oh, what for this game?
Yeah, I want a scoreline and a man of the match.
It's one of those. Even if Fulham win 10-0, they're still going down. I think, to be honest, they're not going to get 9 points from the next 3 games. But I can't see them beat Burnley. Burnley 2-1. And Neil, man of the match.
Okay, right.
Doesn't get much safer than that, does it really, with Burnley?
Burnley 2-1 and McNeil. Roz, what was your prediction from Saturday?
I don't remember.
It was Burnley 2-1 and McNeil.
Oh, there we go.
Look, it's not just the
Wait,
the Bielsa
Joe,
hatred.
I thought I said 2-1 and McNeil.
Hang on a minute. Yes, you did. No, hang on. Did you? Did you say 2-1 and McNeil? Oh my god, I did that thing that I always do, and I put the wrong scores in the wrong.
Joe, this week of all weeks, you better make sure all my results are in my column because I'm having an absolute blinder.
Okay, right.
I feel like that octopus that was predicting the World Cup results. I call Bamford as a Adama Traore, Bertrand Traore, and most incredibly of all, Willian. So
You called them and did they even pick up?
Brilliant.
Nketiah did.
What did I say then?
You said 1-0 Vidra.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you said 1-0 and you've got Vidra. Mus said 2-1 and Mus has got McNeil. Matt said 2-1 and he's got McNeil. I said 2-0 and I've got Wood. Right, okay, that is all of our predictions for tonight's game. Thank you so much for joining me, lads. What a child. Honestly, thanks for joining us. Mus, thank you. As I said earlier, I'll never tire of that shirt. Thank you for joining us. And I can't wait to see which football shirt you bring us next week. Roz, I can't wait to see which brand of lager you'll be drinking next time. And Matt, I can't wait to see who's on your dartboard next time. So thanks for joining us. And we'll say goodbye. Lads, it's been emotional. It's been a pleasure. It's never a chore. See you next time.
Later.
Bye, everyone.